Good morning. Piers Morgan is awake on the issue of Gaza. Huge. If you go back and look at what he's said in the past, he has been fully entrenched in the Zionist PR machine. He's now awake. I think one of the best shows in the future is going to be when Piers Morgan has Candace Owens on, along with maybe Theron and Ian, and bring Mehdi on again. 2-hour show, make it a special. Please tag me so that I know when you guys are on, because this needs to happen. We need a PR machine that not only helps the Palestinians, but by helping the Palestinians, I guarantee you, we will be helping everybody else. So go check out Piers Morgan if you haven't been listening to him, because he's awake when it comes to Israel and Palestine. More big names are going to be waking up. Sort of what I'm feeling right now is they are wrestling with themselves, because many of them have been indoctrinated in ways that we just don't quite understand. And maybe we'll understand it more as they begin to wake up and listen. Books begin to be written about how they were indoctrinated and why they remain silent. Somebody could write an anthology of many stories from different points of view, because in order for Israel to remain standing, they really do need to get the buy-in, the agreement from people from all over the globe, because the founding of Israel was done through a colonial lens, and there is no other way of saying it at all. And they are going to need to come to terms with that, rather than projecting onto all of us that we need to accept that we need to accept this. No, not accepting it. And there's been some talk of, you Americans, you live on, yes, I do live on land that was stolen. My family was brought here. I have genes from Native Americans, from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, and from the Ashkenazi, I don't think I'm saying that right, from the Ashkenazi Jews. My DNA comes from all over the place. We've got to get this right. We've got to get this narrative, the storytelling about the Palestinian people and about what happened. We've got to get it right. And guess what? We got all the people on the field right now who are capable of telling this story. Many who have not been speaking up yet. So many will be coming onto the field in the coming weeks, months, and years, telling their stories so that we can get this narrative right and get on a timeline that respects life.
I have resisted going as far as you have done in your criticism of the Israeli government. I resist no more. I think we've reached common ground about what we view is happening and has been happening through this period of this blockade, which frankly is just starvation of the people there, including so many innocent young women and children. And I think that the incessant bombing and killing, and we don't know how many civilians have been killed, but it is on a daily basis. It looks like hundreds of people every day, with no apparent attempt, it seems to me, to have any real plan for how this ends or what happens when it ends, other than, if you look at what Smodrich has been saying, probably the most right-wing member of a very right-wing government, he is talking in a genocidal language about kicking all the Palestinians out. So I think this idea that what they're doing, the government, has widespread support now from Israelis or Jewish people globally, I think is actually beginning to be proven wrong. I think there's a lot of uprisings now of people saying enough, because they can see there's no there's no end game. No one really on the Israeli government side has explained what is going to happen when this war ends, or indeed what victory.
Piers Morgan has gotten increasingly fed up with the arguments that he's been hearing from defenders of Israel on his program in a way that I think is symbolic of a broader shift in Western media and politics going on at the moment. There have been a couple of viral moments just from the last 24 hours. One of those we want to play here, this is Natasha Hastorf, who is a UK lawyer who represents Israel and went on with both comic Dave Smith and Piers Morgan, though you'll see that Dave Smith plays the same role that you're going to play in this, which is just watching. So let's do that.
I was told by the ambassador to UK it was a blood libel for me to suggest that Israel had killed children in this war.
No, I don't believe that was the case. I think it was to do with targeting children.
No.
And there is a difference. Right. Because we are hearing that Israel is targeting children, and that couldn't be further from the fact.
Well, last week, 9 out of 10 children in one home where 2 doctors reside were killed in an airstrike.
Well,
what was that?
Remarkable.
Well, what was that?
That has been based only on the basis of hearsay.
You don't believe that story?
Information. I want these stories.
Wait a minute. You don't believe that those children were killed?
I have seen conflicting accounts, and I want that story to be properly investigated before the international media runs with it. I have.
You think those 2 parents, one of whom I think operated on one of the children?
I have a question.
Do you think that those 2 doctors, the parents, they just made it up?
Why are
that
those
9 of their
children
10 children had been blown to pieces by an Israeli airstrike?
If this is true,
you don't believe it?
Well, why on earth was artificially generated imagery used to promote this story when it first happened?
I've got to say, Natasha, I think what you've just said about that family is despicable.
We've seen time
I'm sorry,
and time again.
it's despicable.
Blood libel?
Somebody, you talk about blood libel, like Dave said, you talk about blood libel, you talk about lies,
all I said
you talk about promoting propaganda, and here you sit here as a lawyer and you say that you do not believe those 9 children were killed.
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
Do you believe it or not?
I said that there were conflicting accounts.
Do you believe it?
And it needs to be investigated.
Do you believe it?
I thought you would be the
parents said 9 of their 10 children were killed. Do you believe them or not? Or did those 2 doctors make it up?
They haven't said that directly as far as I have seen. I have seen second-hand accounts and hearsay. But it's important to ask, why are these civilians still there? Why is it that
Actually, no, it's important to us whether you believe that family have lost 9 of their 10 children.
I want to know why the international community...
You don't. And this goes to the point that I would say about Israel generally now, in this war now.
Civilians?
Israel says they don't believe anything. Every story that comes out about the deaths of civilians in Gaza,
because there is
someone will pop up representing the Israeli government saying, it's propaganda, it's not true, I've heard it's not right.
Emily, the most revealing comment from her, I thought, maybe it was accidental, but she said, why are those civilians still there?
Yeah.
And I think what she's referring to is that like 6 months before these 9 children.
The IDF has no willing whatsoever to shoot at an innocent population when they want, in actual fact, to save the Gazans from the real occupations of the Hamas terrorism who abuses them. And I wonder if you see those videos that the Hamas people are, that the Gazans are freeing in the WhatsApp and in the social medias when they're saying Hamas won't let us out. Hamas won't let us take the humanitarian aid. Hamas is killing us if we're just daring to talk. And if you think that Hamas is a legitimate ruling, then I don't know what to say. But if you don't, and I think you don't, then you should be thanking us like the rest of the world for freeing the Gazans from the Hamas ruling, which is a Nazi terror of our days.
I started this interview by saying Hamas should not obviously be in charge anymore. But I also think the IDF should stop what they're doing in Gaza now because too many innocent people are being killed. And I'm afraid I don't believe what the IDF or the Israeli government is now saying about what's happening in Gaza because you won't let the media in to verify it. And in my experience, there's a long history of being a journalist. When people stop journalists going into an area like Gaza during a war, it's because they don't want people to see what they're doing there. They've got something to hide. Anyway, I've got to leave it there.
That's correct.
Lots of doctors have been abducted and have disappeared is total nonsense. I know of 1 or 2 cases of doctors who were taken to an Israeli detention center. What happened to them afterwards, I don't know. I don't think they've been killed. I think they're under arrest for whatever reason. But
so they could have been abducted.
Many doctors have been.
You're basically agreeing with him, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm saying that he talked about.
You just said you know of some doctors who were detained. You've no idea what happened to them.
I know of 1 or 2 doctors.
You're confirming his story.
No, I'm not. I'm confirming a small part of what is true. The rest is a lie, as is a large part of what he's saying. Had Israel wanted to kill all the Palestinians, that's what genocide actually means, there would have been many, many, many more deaths in Gaza. Each time Israel launches an air raid, we hear of the Palestinians saying 24 people have died, 30 people have died, and I'm sure many of them are civilians. So all we hear about and all we see on television is dead babies and dead women. They never show grown male, army-aged males being taken out of these ruins.
Okay, but look, out of interest, all right, but Benny Morris, when you hear someone like Smodrich last week talking about the campaign to just clear everybody out.
He's disgusting. You don't have to convince me. He's disgusting.
Right, but so my question for you, but my question for you though is this. All right, he's disgusting. What he said was disgusting.
Yes.
What he said was also genocidal. Whereas you do not believe it's genocide that's going on, he clearly is talking in a way which made me believe that actually maybe the intention is genocide. It may not be the death of absolutely everybody, but it means killing a lot of Palestinians and kicking the rest out of the area. And that is a genocide.
Then this is all over. It's what we've been saying since the very beginning, Piers.
Right, but just to be clear, of all of those incidents I laid out in detail, is your position really that the IDF didn't kill anybody?
Again, I'm not at every single incident. I would assume if the IDF killed somebody or if we targeted somebody, we try to release that information as best we can to the press. There's probably never been an army in the most difficult situation of urban fighting, Piers, in the entire world. I'm sorry, that's had to face this before.
With great respect, you and I both know that's complete claptrap. The IDF will do whatever it can not to admit that it's killing civilians. It constantly deflects. It constantly blames Hamas for all the deaths. And yet we have doctors, independent British doctors, who have been treating the victims, who all have been saying that actually most of these deaths and injuries have been caused by IDF. IDF admit they keep firing bullets. Either they're the worst shots in the world, or we're supposed to believe they're firing them all straight up in the air, or they are shooting at groups of people, perhaps believing they include Hamas, and they're killing people. But what they've been doing in the last few months, the 3-month blockade, starving already impoverished, war-torn, innocent civilians in the main, women, children, and then as they queue up, desperate for the small amounts of food coming in, opening fire, and being so disingenuous about, well, there are question marks over all of these. Well, let me answer the question marks. Here's how we can do it. You said it about Iran earlier, but what about the fact that Israel continues to refuse to allow international journalists, including the BBC, into Gaza? There's only one reason they don't want journalists in Gaza. They don't want them to see what is actually going on. If there's nothing to hide, let the journalists in. The blockade was 12 weeks long, Emily. 12 weeks long.
It was months.
I'm sorry, listen.
Now,
I'm afraid, Emily, hang on.
Now is the distribution of aid when it comes to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
Hang on.
These are not the same thing.
Emily, it was the blockade to me that really moved me to be increasingly vocal against what the Israeli government is doing. Because when you take a war-torn population where half of them are under 18 and they're already dodging bombs night after night, day after day, and 50, 60, 70,000 have been killed, hundreds of thousands more wounded by these bombs, and their life is terrifying as it is. As Israel goes after Hamas, and I don't dispute that's what they're doing, but in the process they're killing so many civilians. But when you then deliberately starve those people of food and aid for 3 months, that is a war crime. You are not allowed to do that. And actually, just to finish my point, hang on, Emily.
Sure.
What it does, it reinforces the belief that many people on the Palestinian side have, which is this has been a sustained occupation of Gaza for many decades, and that Israel has the power and the ability, as it showed early on when the war started, to turn on and off the water, to turn on and off the gas, to turn on and off the food supply, etc., etc. When you launch, as Israel did, a blockade for 3 months earlier this year, you are sending a message to the people of Gaza and the world. We have control. We are the occupiers here. And if we want to do this, we can do it. And that is bad for Israel. This cannot go on where you have that power over millions of Gazans, can it? And the fact that Israel won't allow it is sticking in my gullet. And when it's pretended to be out of some quaint concern for my personal safety, I'm afraid it's laughable. And my question is this: if Israel has nothing to hide, why are they not letting international journalists go in? Tell me. Why don't they let them all in so that what you're telling us can actually be independently verified?
You should be cheering, Piers. Everyone in this
I don't cheer an 11-week blockade of food to an impoverished people.
Should destroy Hamas and should be able to bring the food to the people who need it. But instead, what you are doing and what Cenk is doing is you are perpetuating the rule of Hamas.
You know why I yell on this program?
You're an
Because guys
anti-Semite
like
at your
this do
core.
nonstop
You care nothing
propaganda,
else about
and they
the
won't
Muslim
stop
world. You
talking.
don't care about
They
women's
talk
rights.
over everyone
You call
else.
blacks
If you're
by
going to
the
talk over
N-word.
everyone
You
else,
support
I'm going to
David
talk
Duke.
over you.
You've never been on the
starved
ground, and
more
all you
people
do is
than
spend every day
anyone else
attacking
in the
Israel.
world. Israel has killed more journalists than anyone else in the world. You're not going to talk over me.
Wait, hold up. Did Piers Morgan just grow a conscience on his own show, Piers Morgan Uncensored? After nearly 2 years of tap dancing around the word genocide, the man who once couldn't even find Gaza on a map is now throwing verbal Molotovs at Israel's spin machine. And I'm here for it. In this explosive showdown, Piers and Cenk Uygur go full throttle on Dorn Spielman, an IDF mouthpiece who accidentally lets the truth slip like a wet bar of propaganda soul. This isn't your average polite panel discussion. This is a verbal warfare, truth bombs, and media redemption rolled into one. If you've been craving accountability, buckle up, because even Piers Morgan finally snapped out of his media matrix. You don't want to miss this one, trust me. Let's dive in.
And where have we got? We've got to a place where Hamas clearly still are there. They're clearly still holding these hostages, and Israel can't get them to release them. Which suggests to me that Hamas's power base is still pretty much intact, or that process would have happened by now. And I don't see any end game or plan here, other than increasingly it seems that there are people on that government who just want to get rid of all the Palestinians, who want to just take over Gaza, and that will be it. And that is actually the very genocide that so many on the pro-Israeli side keep recoiling at hearing that word, because they say it's not genocide. Well, if you get rid of a whole people based on their ethnicity from an expansive land that is theirs, where they've been living, what else do you call it? So I got angry, and then everyone got angry at me, because everyone gets angry about everything you ever say about this war. But from where you sit, are you comfortable? Are you comfortable as an IDF reservist with what is now going on, with hundreds being killed every day, so many women, so many children in particular? Are you comfortable that there is a strategy here that is either working or is not just turning Israel slowly but surely into a global pariah?
Piers, I don't think that anyone in Israel has been comfortable since October 7th. You're asking me what is a proportional response to 1,200 people being slaughtered, raped, babies being burnt, 250 people which have been taken captive as hostages, 57 of which are still in the Gaza tunnels. I'll tell you, I think that the word is a smokescreen. Hamas went after civilians, and you're asking me what's a proportional response? Israel's response has been never to go after a civilian, only to go after Hamas terrorists. Now, I've been in Gaza. I've been in Gaza 4 different times.
They killed tens of
since
thousands
October
of
7th.
civilians.
And when you're in Gaza,
yeah, but Doran,
when you're
they killed
in
tens of
Gaza
thousands
and you're
of
on the
civilians.
ground in Gaza, what you see, just 1 second, what you see when you're on Gaza is you're being fired on from parks, from schools, from apartment buildings. Hamas fighters are popping out of ground every Hamas tunnel. I don't know if you've been on Gaza, Piers.
No, you know why I haven't been in Gaza? Doran, hang on. You ask a question.
You can go into Gaza, Piers. There's been over a million people that have entered Gaza to visit Gaza.
But here's the key point, Doran. International journalists have not been allowed into Gaza to independently verify any of this. That's been another massive problem I've had with this. If Israel has nothing to hide, they should let
Piers,
all the...
have you ever been in Gaza?
Hang on, let me finish.
Piers.
Hang on. Let me finish my question. Let me finish my question.
Have you actually you had 20 years to go to Gaza.
Let me finish my question, please.
What happened on October 7th that all of a sudden you want to walk
Doran,
into a war
I'm going to
zone
finish my
and
question,
Israel...
whether you let me or not, okay? And my question is this. If Israel has nothing to hide, why are they not letting international journalists go in? Tell me. Why don't they let them all in so that what you're telling us can actually be independently verified?
Piers, Israel is trying to deal with a terrorist regime that is popping out of tunnels, popping out of buildings, is everywhere. And you want us to unleash a flood of reporters into the area when a Hamas reporter was killed because he was Hamas, the entire world media blamed Israel for killing a reporter, and he was a member of Hamas, a verified member of Hamas that filmed himself as part of October 7th. So you want us to unleash 1,000 reporters?
You're not banning the international media out of concerns for their safety.
One second, Pierce.
Don't insult my intelligence, Doran.
You asked me about
Don't insult my
You're
intelligence.
asking me questions while I'm speaking.
Don't insult my intelligence. Israel is not banning international media
I'm just trying
out
to
of
provide an
concern
answer,
for
Pierce.
our
I don't feel
safety.
like I have an opportunity to
You're
actually
not
answer
banning
you.
us out of concern for our safety. You're banning us because you don't want the international media to witness what you're doing on the ground for reasons that I don't know. But the best way to remove any suspicion about what you're doing is to let the international media in. They will make their own risk assessment. It will be down to their security teams, as it is in any war zone. But the idea that somehow Gaza should be the only war zone in the world where you don't let international journalists go and operate and do their job, and you can do that, Israel, because you basically control all the access to Gaza, I'm afraid is for the birds. You should just let the media in. Then everything you're saying can be verified as true or untrue. And the fact that Israel won't allow it is sticking in my gullet. And when it's pretended to be out of some quaint concern for my personal safety, I'm afraid it's laughable.
Yeah, and
Pierce,
it's killed
we have
more
taken
journalists than
reporters
all other
into
conflicts
Gaza
combined.
hundreds and
on Earth.
hundreds and hundreds of times. I myself have taken reporters into Gaza in armored vehicles, let them walk around. Palestinians on Gaza take pictures with their phones every single day. All you have to do is look at Telegram, look at X, look at every single social media channel. If you think that the suffering of Gazans is not displayed, you're wrong. What is not being presented, and this lies at the very source of your question, is why is there so much suffering in Gaza? We have brought 1.8 million tons of food into Gaza. That is a ton of food. 2,000 pounds of food per person in Gaza. Why are there people in Gaza that are hungry right now? Is because all that food that goes into Gaza is taken by UNRWA, all the international agencies that fill their coffers with that food, by Hamas, who steals that food from the Gazan people. And now that Israel actually has a plan to go into Gaza, take over the Gaza Strip, enable very clear distribution points, you should be cheering, Pierce. Everyone on this
I don't cheer an 11-week blockade of food to an impoverished people.
Should destroy Hamas and should be able to bring the food to the people who need it. But instead, what you are doing and what Cenk is doing is you are perpetuating the rule of Hamas. Did you not see Odeh Raby? Do you know who that is, Cenk? Cenk, who's Odeh Raby? Do you know Odeh Raby? Did you speak about Odeh Raby, Cenk? I didn't see him on your social media.
Listen, here's what I'm saying about how the fact that your government is starving 2.2 million people right now.
Gaza.
You're starving the babies, you monster.
Torturing the Gazan
Why don't you
people.
stop? You're the terrorist.
10,000 people came to his funeral
your
when his body was dragged through the streets of Gaza.
Right
his parents received his body with a noose around his neck and his underwear. And all of those people, 5 were killed. And dozens and dozens of them have gone missing.
You know who's the worst terrorist in the world?
Decide
Netanyahu.
to keep Hamas in power. And the reason is you've never been on the ground. You support David Duke. You're an anti-Semite at your core. You care nothing else about the Muslim world. You don't care about women's rights. You call blacks
if you're going to talk over everyone else, I'm going to talk over you.
You've never been on the ground.
You've starved more people than anyone else in the world. Israel has killed more journalists than anyone else in the world. You're not going to talk over me. You've got these people that are
this
starving,
is coming from
and Hamas did not make that decision.
Hamas
is terrible. Israel made that decision. But whenever you start talking about Israel,
by the J word and doesn't respect women,
never stop talking.
I don't talk over each other because no one can hear it.
Israeli propaganda, and I'm sick of it.
All right.
Get him to shut up for a second and let other people talk. All they do is Israeli propaganda. It is a fact that they are starving the children of Gaza right now. It is a fact that they have killed over 53,000 people. And he says, 1,200 is terrible. It is terrible what Hamas did on October 7th. But to say that 1,200 people killed and
you don't think it's terrible,
children killed is
Since
terrible.
the very
but
day you've been against the government providing the bombs to Israel needs to fight its wars. You sit and scream. You never ever blame Hamas. Where's Hamas, Cenk? If it was up to you, you'd be leaving the Gazan people under the regime regime of Hamas. You are the enemy.
Sick,
you are the
person.
enemy of the Gazan people.
You are the enemy of America. You are the enemy of America, okay? You got us to fight Iraq.
You call
want us
yourself
to fight the
a
Iran
young
war.
Turk.
You've taken $300 billion.
You
starved children to death.
People who
you are the worst terrorists of my lifetime.
You led 1 million Armenians into the Syrian desert and watched them die.
In fact, the Armenian genocide, you want to get personal.
The
Armenian
Turks.
genocide
You should
is
be ashamed of yourself.
exactly what
yes,
Israel is doing to the Palestinians now.
David Duke is a pro-American.
Driving them
I get it, Jane. David Duke is the American.
Israel is the
and
largest
the
terrorist organization
in
the world right now.
All right.
All right, that's enough. That's enough. Culpable.
All right, listen. When you both shout, no one can hear.
I'm not going to silence my ass by invoking the Holocaust or calling me an anti-Semite. I don't give a shit. Okay, I see what's happening clearly. I'm going to speak up about it, and no one's going to shut me up. Period. End of story. We see what's going on. The entire international community sees what's happening. The Israeli government wants to genocide and ethnically cleanse Palestinians, not just from Gaza, but the West Bank too. Look at the terror they're dealing with in the West Bank.
What I find amazing, hang on, Shabbos, please. Hang on. I want to go to Emily. What I find extraordinary, I genuinely mean this, is there seems to be either a lack of awareness of what the rest of the world is now beginning to feel about this, or a deliberate putting head in sand and saying, it's not happening, we don't want to hear it. Because, if I was an Israeli, if I was Jewish right now, it would be impossible not to be aware of how the world is beginning to feel about this, and that this has got out of hand, it's disproportionate, too many children are being killed, there seems to be no end game for this whatsoever other than, as Shabbos has just said, getting all the Palestinians out, right? Which is clearly what Smotrich, the finance minister, wants to do. And it's clearly what other members of that cabinet agree with him about. I just don't get why there's no awareness or deliberately willful blindness towards the growing international opprobrium from people like me, right, who've been very supportive of Israel's right to defend themselves. But there's just no apparent, all there is a digging in and a sort of blind refusal to admit that anything the Israeli government is doing is wrong, when most people, including 2 Israeli former prime ministers, have said it's not only wrong, but criminal.